Hey, I'm Danielle, a techie serial entrepreneur.
I'm Cicely, a health tech nurse.
I'm Priscilla, and I'm an award-winning creative.
Welcome to the More Than Graphics podcast, a virtual safe space for women and minorities in the tech and creative industry. Together, we're that tribe. Well, hello, everybody. Welcome to another live episode of the More Than Graphics podcast. This is the part where normally I would tell you all about myself and how amazing it is to be a part of this podcast. And I lost my place already. Happy February, everyone. It's Black History Month. Welcome.
I can introduce you. I can introduce you. While you let's introduce each other.
We could play that game. It's our first live of 2025. Like Priscilla, it's our first live. I'm excited about that.
It's so scary.
Are scary? Is it really?
No, it's not. I meant to say it's exciting.
So as people may or may not know, More Than Graphics is a multi-award nominated podcast. It's ranked by Listen Notes.com. It's a top 10 podcast. That's like 3,000 or 3 million registered podcasts of that entire catalog. We are ranked in the top 10%. So we love the fact that globally we are representing exactly what we came to do: minorities, women in the tech and creative space. So if you're new here, let us know where you're listening from. You don't have to tell us your street address, but definitely give us a region. Give us a ballpark figure of kind of what we're playing around with. But
unless you're on Elm Street. If you're on Elm Street, I want to know.
If you really are somewhere, right? I love that. So for people who don't know, I'm Danielle. I am your techie retro pixel sorceress who loves pushing marketing and creative tech for minority entrepreneurs.
And I'm Priscilla, a creative who mixes old school wisdom with modern inspiration and helps others find gratitude in a world full of screens.
Oh my gosh.
Not screens, screens.
Well, I mean, I feel like it go both ways sometimes, right? And I would want you there too for the screams. I'll be there. So if you guys don't know, our latest episode, Align, just rolled out today, y'all, featuring ADP List Top 100 Mentor of the Year, Barney Abramson. Hey, Barney. If you're around, just say hi. We had a great time talking with him, and it was such a great episode. It was filled with lots of gems. So wherever you are in podcasting range, go to Apple Podcasts, go to Spotify, go to Amazon, wherever you listen to podcasts to hear this incredible episode full of wealthy insights from our guests. So because we're talking about Align, Priscilla, like, how'd you feel about that episode we just did? Like, I feel like I love that episode.
I felt like felt so much smarter. I mean, I always feel smarter, but it was nice. Yeah, it was really nice. It felt different.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah.
Totally agree. I really love the idea of, agency behind mentorship. And so he's a GOAT. I mean, he is one of the top people that I really kind of newly met, but really started to get more involved in. He encouraged me in my ADP journey. So ADP List, if you're listening, I'm shouting y'all out because I'm really inspired to get behind, encourage, support other young people who are up and coming in the industry and pour into them too. So I'm just really inspired by that whole conversation with Barney. But you need to check it out for yourself.
Thank you for introducing him to us.
Yes. Yeah. Okay, roundtable question. Have you ever felt misaligned in your career? Like, I can easily say yes, because I've done this before. Have you felt misaligned in your career before?
We're talking to each other right now, right?
Icebreaker.
Icebreaker. Well, dive right in. I would say probably yes. Yes. Definitely.
Yeah, I feel like
I think I'd be a liar. I'd be a liar if I said no.
Right. I feel like we have to, on some level, we have to come to terms with the fact that what was working is not working. And I feel like that's a level of acknowledging a misalignment, right?
Right.
There's been a couple of different instances. Barney talked about a few of his on his particular podcast, Align. And I really liked the idea that we've heard this before from other women, from other minorities on our podcast that have shared, like, they hit a point, they had to pivot because they couldn't keep doing what they were doing before. And that made them better, sharper. It gave them opportunity. It gave them a wealth of better other understanding that they weren't able to get if they had just kept it on the road they were on. So I feel like it's really important to talk about Align and alignment and how we as creatives can kind of reaffirm that and redefine it on our own level and ignite something that's even more fire than what we had going before.
Yeah. I mean, I think that the misalignment is, I would say, is necessary, because if we just stayed aligned the whole time, it would just be like, oh, what was that movie, Pleasantville or something like that? It's just like so dull and there's no excitement and very vanilla-y if there wasn't, right? And I don't think people would stay, you wouldn't stay sharp.
Yeah.
The only way for you to get sharp is to have that misalignment, because then it, you need that sharp edges sometime.
Man.
The wonky bits.
Right now, my sharp edges are these dry, ashy elbows right now. So I'm just like, those are my sharp edges today.
Okay.
Moisturize. Okay, so I really like this roundtable discussion. If you guys have comments or a story that you would like to share in the comments in regards to misalignment, feel free to share those. I just think it's so important that when we talk about alignment, it's not like it has to be this way, or as we talk about the snap and pull. What is it called? The snap and back or something? Whatever the Reese Witherspoon.
From Legally Blonde.
Yes.
The bend and snap.
Bend and snap. Yes. So this is not, I don't want you to think always bend and snap, bend and snap. It's not necessarily that, but I do like the idea of alignment being like this kind of, continual system that we all have to go through to evolve to whatever the next level is. So I do like that question. Feel free to comment, ask questions, and share your experiences about alignment in the comments today. So moving on to some host discussion, we've got a poll here that says, which area of alignment do you find most challenging? Is it a creative alignment? Is it a career alignment? Is it brand alignment or personal? And I think we're going to talk a little bit about each here. We talk about creative alignment, aligning personal style with client needs, maybe brand consistency across platforms, or even aligning design with strategy. I feel like that's what we do for a living, Priscilla and myself. So we help people like align their needs a little bit closer to what they visually want to see, their businesses do. So I see that. I can relate to that.
Oh yeah, me too. That's my favorite alignment.
Creative alignment. I like that. There's a career alignment, finding a career path that matches skills, passions, and values. That means aligning with your company culture. Now, this is also an area that I feel very prominent about because the Octane culture, my small business, is something that I'm very prominent about. I'm very proud of, and I actually cultivate it in a certain way so that it's not easily duplicated. It's not a replication thing. It really is its own unique organic space for women, specifically for brown women, to be creative and voice their opinions, but also voice it strategically through design. So I do like the career alignment because that's like where I'm at right now. My skills and my passions, do they match the things that I do every day? If it doesn't, why? Right? Those questions. Brand alignment, ensuring visual identity and messaging are consistent and that they resonate with the target audience, aligning with brand values. So, hey, creatives, are you out there? Are you in alignment with what's going down with brands? There's a lot of brands that in alignment right now with these new DEI initiatives that you might not want to anymore. We're seeing that be a rising trend right now in the state of place that we are in the world. A lot of people are starting to make more demands of the brands that they love. And when they may or may not turn their backs or go a different direction, you'll see that drop, right? I think I mentioned in my newsletter maybe a couple weeks ago about Poppies, and how their brand during the Super Bowl, they had an idea and they went with that idea, but it wasn't as effective as it could have been, and a lot of people started pointing it out. Not to say that they would stop buying, the soda, but I do think it's very important that if your brand and your brand values don't align, and and you have a following that's demanding of that attention, when they don't align, they're gonna tell you. They are not afraid.
Yeah.
Okay, and personal alignment, right? This is the area that I'm working a lot in as well. Personal alignment, aligning your inner self with your outer expression, values, and actions. Priscilla, like, I feel like this is totally your era, because I feel like out of all the things that we do in personal alignment, and you with so much wisdom from your life journey, where you were to where you are, like, I feel like this is definitely a light, bright moment.
Oh yeah, for sure. Well, it's kind of weird because I'm looking at all these different alignments, and I'm like, well, they kind of intertwined so much, like a tumbleweed. So it's kind of hard for me, at least, distinguishing which I would find most challenging, because they just kind of all mesh. Enmeshment is very strong in this.
The meshment. Wait, let me get my meshment stick. Hold on one second. I like that. I like that you said that one. But I love that you say it all meshes together in a lot of areas. How do you distinct between creative alignment and personal alignment? How do you distinct between career and brand alignment? And it really just kind of depends on where you are, I guess, as a creative, as a person in tech. As a woman in tech, we know all too well that, we put a lot of elements to make the things function and make things work. And sometimes it's harder to break those elements apart, to examine them sometimes, or sometimes it's the opposite. It's super easy for us to take it apart and put it back together again.
And I think it also depends on like where you are in life, right? Because when we were younger, we probably would have said, oh, at some point we're like, I don't know what I want to do with myself. And then you start going like, who am I? I'm like trying to think of, okay, which was what and where, like the 20s, the 30s, the 40s, the 50s.
I get it. I totally get it. I like that. Yeah. I think when we talk about, any type of solutions or strategies to this, it always comes a little bit with a grain of salt, because again, different strokes for different folks. So what works for Priscilla is always not going to work, for me in that way. But we're talking more about, maybe strategies or open solutions that we can find to achieving alignment. And I love that, again, Barney's personal story around how he was able to realign himself, to fuel his passions and really kind of find better alignment, even for his mentees, right? Like talking about some of those as well. What is a strategy that has helped you achieve better alignment in your work or life? Feel free to respond to that in the comments for those who are watching and listening today. But I would love to share some actionable tips and strategies. And Priscilla, you lead off a couple of these, because I definitely want your input on all of this.
Yeah, I guess I would say, I was going to say, brand alignment is really easy, at least speaking for me and you, because that's what we do, and I always tell everyone that I think in themes and campaigns. That's like, I can't get more truer.
That's so true.
So brand alignment for me is kind of, it's hard for me it's like one of those things when you used to try to say, hey, I'm going to teach people, what I do. Sometimes it's difficult because it's like when you breathe it and it's just, you're just kind of, it's hard to think, okay, how would I explain to someone how to breathe, or like you just,
yeah.
Right? But I don't know. I think the biggest thing for me lately, of course, is the personal alignment and just getting that sorted. And of course, it's just, I'm in my 50s. So I'm in a different place where, my kids are still young, but they're kind of not less handsy than they were. And But and also having a lot of my other life things kind of taking care of that. So, but that for me, the personal alignment is kind of going along with the career alignment, because now I'm able to I really want to focus on, where I want to go. But I think that it does come with the personal alignment, when you start, appreciating what, being grateful for things and appreciating where you are. I think sometimes that will help a lot on your alignment in other places. I think it starts with that type of, reflection and, doing things about, because I kind of feel like the personal part, I know we sometimes work on that when we're working on the other stuff, but I remember when I was starting out as an entrepreneur, I was like, you know what, it aligns with the business and the personal. And like, if I don't, it's kind of like when they say you got to love yourself first before you get into a relationship with somebody else.
Yes.
It's kind of what it's like. I feel like with work too, right? If you don't know yourself and you don't know, what it is that maybe you need to work on, or what, then it is going to be misaligned on all these other places, like the career. Well, how are you going to know what you really want to do or what you're good at? And the brand, it's like your brand is you. So if you don't know you, then there's kind of hello, and then the creative. And the creative, again, for me, the creative is just kind of like wonky all over the place, but it'll eventually, like I'll land. But I think really the personal alignment, which of course it's difficult because it's kind of cyclical and it always changing. Because like I said, where I was, 5 years ago or even 5 months ago is different where I'm at now. But I feel like it's just a step closer and closer to, the things are kind of lining up. And, it's kind of like my daughter talking about her hair being in layers. I was like, well, you got to cut something off for it to start evening out, because otherwise they're just still kind of going like this. Yeah. And that's kind of the case with all this other alignment stuff, is like, you might have to pause some of this stuff to work on this other one.
What is that called? I forgot that special haircut. It's
bob.
It's like the wolf cut, like the actual wolf cut. Okay. First off, oh my gosh. Okay, so
are you gonna get one?
Don't bring her near me, because I would influence her to do it, because I love the wolf cut. I think it's really cool. I would love to be able to do that. If my hair would lay the way that I want it to lay, then I would totally be down. But I've seen a lock look like that as well, like full on locks with the wolf cut. I'm about that life. If you're about that life, let me know in the comments. But I personally love that you say that, though, because again, not different strokes for different folks. And I do definitely see how you can align a little bit more in the personal alignment and the creative alignment, and how that's been able to stretch you and stretch across the canvas of your life, right? And show up in different ways. We talk about some of these actionable tips and strategies in these areas. So I kind of wanted, Priscilla, for you to kind of read off some of the creative alignment ones, because I do feel like those are some good strategies to help people better achieve alignment in their work or life.
Okay, so for creative alignment, you could try mood boards, right?
Yeah.
Client feedback processes, just kind of say, hey, how did you like how, our first meeting went or whatever? Design thinking exercises and defining your personal brand. So I think mood board is really easy. And that was so weird, because I came across, I don't know where it was, might have been some article or something, that when I was clearing out my emails, and they were talking about, like vision boards, mood boards, and like how they use it in, the creative, like with their clients and stuff. And I have used that a little bit, but I think earlier on I did, but I think that I've gotten really comfortable with, in our conversations with a new client, I talk so much with them about, I don't really need to show them a mood board. I just go right to the thing and say, this is what it is. Like, I don't need to sell them on a mood, because like we've been talking about the mood. So, but that was something that I definitely did earlier on when I was trying to, do the pitches and stuff.
Oh
How
yeah,
about you?
for sure.
What do you do that with when you're
So
branding
design
people?
thinking exercises, that's my jam. So
Yeah.
gamification queen.
Yeah.
So I mean, I am all about wanting to ask them what their some gamified ways to think about branding or in general any creative process. So those are the type of things that I personally do with a lot of our clientele, even with coworkers that I work with. It's always a gamified type of setting, even in the workplace, in the virtual workplace. I'm asking 90s quizzes, and we're going through all kinds of fun, trivial stuff. But these are all ways to kind of get our impulses, our brains, our creative juices flowing. And maybe in a more direct way so that we can approach a marketing solution for a lot of our clients. So that's really important to me as far as like creative alignment, making sure that we're all in a good place so that we can put our best foot forward. Okay, what about career alignment? So self-assessment tools like personality tests and skills inventories, networking strategies, mentorship opportunities, and setting clear goals. So I feel like career alignment, Danielle is such a sucker for like setting clear goals. Mentorship opportunities, we can talk about that later, but setting clear goals is like such a huge chunk of it in my aspect, career goals. So, when something needs to get done, it needs to be done, not done last week, right? Not done the week after that, but get done. So I'm working a lot on, that on myself always as someone who leads another team that depends upon the work that of each component's work, right? It's really important to have set clear goals. But haven't really taken a self-assessment tool. Like I haven't taken enough personality tests lately. I feel like I did that.
Let's go. Let's find some. Let's find some and do some, and then we'll come back later and tell how we did.
Okay, I'm down.
I'd like to know like how I look. It'd be nice to have if you did it before and then do it again later. How if there is much of a difference.
Yeah.
Yeah, because I know like personality wise, maybe about the same, but you're talking about skills inventory. I think I was talking to you about working in design, and I couldn't find everything because it was like light years ahead, and I was like, where I can't find. Just looking for a weird palette or something, and then looking in the workspace and classic. That's what I need. I need the classic, and then everything is there and everything's fine, but. The skills inventory for
Photoshop. Yes, it was just, I was going to say on top of that, it was Photoshop's 35th birthday, like this past week, 35.
Oh, hell. you just made
I mean, I'm CS1.
Hard, Danielle.
Hey, I'm like, I remember CS1 when it first came out.
Right? No, Danielle. Talk about PageMaker.
Can we go to Quark Express? Can we go all the way back? I mean, we're telling on ourselves so bad right now in this moment. But I mean, that's sort of alignment.
And then, but you know what? Word is the same.
Right.
Like some things never change, and that would be that. And I still can't figure that shit out. Don't make me do it. Don't make me do it. Hey, I went to Canva. I'm not going to go to work.
Oh, I love it. Yes. Okay. So skills assessment test passed. Okay. We got it. Yeah. I love brand. Okay. So brand alignment. You want to read that one?
Yes. So brand alignment, we're talking about brand guidelines, style guides. Glasses, get new glasses. That's a personal alignment. Content strategy development and competitor analysis.
Yeah, I think those are great. I love kind of those actionable tips, strategies. We talk, obviously we do a lot of this all on our own, but we also do it for other people. So thinking out loud in a lot of areas for our clients, we have to think ahead, not just out loud, but we have to think ahead. for them. And so I really love the fact this is a good strategy. Obviously, content strategy, development, competitor analysis, all that is kind of really good laying some groundwork, right, in a lot of areas. But if you don't know what your brand is, that brand guideline should be your best friend. That should be clutch, like real hard. So yeah, if you don't have that, like seriously, hit up Priscilla for one of those, because those are she's really good at that.
I love it. It's mine. I love it. No, I think it's good though, because I think we've talked about this before, earlier on in our careers, when we're doing branding for some people or even clients. I remember them saying, people gave them like logo. People are giving them logos, which we always have to explain that logos and branding is different. So it's like, right. And it's like, sometimes people say, well, I just have I got my logo from, I spent $250 from whatever, and they gave me a logo. Well, you don't know what to do with it, right? Because first of all, you probably didn't, you didn't do that investment on really what it is. But I also have known people where we've gotten around the logo, keeping it as is, even though it may not be whatever, but then you build the brand, and it's like sometimes the logo is just a tiny little mark over there, and it's really the brand is so much,
bigger.
It's so much bigger. It's like being at the beauty pageant, and like the beautiful woman that is the logo, but then all of her costume and everything like that, and all her going through the talent, her going through the swimsuit, all that's all her brand.
It's like, yeah, I love that. The good illustration. I'm gonna alliterate a little bit more on that. When you see the Honey Boo Boo dance, you focusing on her movement. You're focusing on the push. You ain't focusing on the little Ding League logo that's sitting on the side of her shirt.
No,
you ain't focusing on the little stuff that's on the back. You're not focusing on those little kind of ideal items that are showcasing the name or whatever. You focusing on Honey Boo Boo.
Yeah.
So I love the fact that you illustrate that, and you chose pageantry. I just went one up. That was great. I love that. Go you.
I told you, themes, campaigns. That's how my brain automatically goes in there. I could probably come up with another thing,
I love it. Okay, so we talked about personal alignment, right? Mindfulness practices, journaling, the identifying core values, setting boundaries. And for me, setting boundaries, I think that is the biggest thing. When I hit up against a hurdle of any kind, I recognize the boundaries that I have in place to kind of protect some mental space for me. And I also and that's across the board, y'all. Like, it's not just a work thing. Those are personal boundaries. Those are family boundaries. Those are husband boundaries. Like, I'm gonna go all the way out, and like, there are certain boundaries that I put in place so that my well-being overall, as a Black woman, as a woman of color, as a queer person, I really put things in place so that I am protected. My soul is protected in a lot of areas. And so I think it's so important when people ask me, and I do hit that every once in a while. Hey, Danielle, can I slide on your DMs and ask you this 5-hour questionnaire about branding? And I'm like, I see you and I wave at you, but the answer is no. And, I get a lot of side chatter. Sometimes I even get some personal one-to-one, some hard truths from people who have worked with me and said, Danielle, I was a little, little disappointed in this, or I wish things would have gone this way. And I have to kind of remind myself things are the way they are so that I can be better tomorrow. And sometimes that means telling people no. Sometimes that means telling people, fleck off until we kind of figure out what the next best step is. And I am unapologetically in that space. So I tell people all the time, boundaries. If I'm mentoring anyone on any space, boundaries, put them in place, even for yourself.
That's a place I need work on. Like boundaries is the thing, right? It's just all again with the enmeshment.
Well, the thing is, like, we are, and Priscilla and I are super close. And so it's so funny because, Priscilla probably thinks, what boundaries? Like, what are you talking about? Priscilla and I are really, really close.
I'm like state lines, like
I just laugh because I mean we practically done it all. Like that's kind of
Yeah.
we're pretty close,
And
but
I like it because you do. I mean, because we are so close, and it's like, and you're really good at, reminding me, hey, can you let's stay in this one thing, and I'm like, I just bounce all over the place. You're like, can you keep all this communication in this place?
yeah.
Looking at all the emails all together.
I love this. Okay, so fact check for people who
about this. I do. Before I communicate with you, I think, what channel is this? What does this go? I said, does this go in the career, the creative, the brand, or the personal? Decides for.
I love this. Oh my gosh. Okay, so backstory for everybody else who's like, what? Priscilla and I definitely cross communicate all the time. Text message, messenger, all the things. What do you do when someone sends you messages from all the places and like when you keep up, right? So I had to like not be laugh. One, I had to laugh. And then two, after that, I was just like, hey, can you send it from one place instead of 5 places? Like, can we just do that? And it was so innocent.
I'm like, I get confused because I said, how do I do it when it's already over here?
But y'all, for the record, Priscilla's done really good.
Yeah, I will say technology is not on my side. You have to just accept.
And it's so funny because Priscilla's not the only one. So I mean, like, there's plenty of people out there who are doing the same thing. I just want to, again, setting good boundaries, firm boundaries for my brain can't come from one place.
I appreciate that, though. And I appreciate it. I appreciate the reminder, and you say the things in such a gentle way that I don't feel like
I'm guilty.
You won't talk to me.
Oh no. Oh man. Shout out to Spooner for keeping it all together. I love it. I love it. But yes, I do I totally relate to that. Sometimes we get bombarded and it's hard for us to filter and figure out where things go. Is that on me because I'm not able to filter all the things, or is there a way for me to kind of, come to a point where I set a boundary and it's easier for me to receive information? And that's just a great example of, again, setting that personal alignment for yourself. Okay, so I think we can move to the next question, which is our challenge Q. We're talking about challenges that you're currently facing in your quest for alignment, and maybe even bring some ideas on it. Like, do you guys have a challenge currently out there, listeners out there, that you're currently facing in your quest for alignment? And if so, I'm happy to chat about it. But I definitely feel like some common obstacles in our alignment sometimes, and how to overcome them. For creative blocks, how do we get back in sync with our creativity? How do you do that, Priscilla, when you get a creative block? What do you do?
I don't know if I really get any blocks. It's about me setting boundaries with those creativities. Like, because, hold on, I got to finish this one thing first. No, I think I mean, sometimes I just kind of, you may be doing the mundane thing or whatever. And something always sparks. Like, I feel like I always have a match. And it just needs to hit the right thing, and then there's the flame going, and or even especially I think I was saying one time I went to Michael's, or I go to some store where they have things. I mean, you even go to the dollar store and just see things that might kind of inspire or spark something, whether or not it could spark you in your personal thing. You might say, oh, I need to do that better for myself, or it can spark in your, creative thing. Like, maybe you are working on something with a client and you see something and you're like, oh shit, yeah, that's a good idea, or just any of that stuff. Like, career wise, sometimes, I know, scrolling through social media, I might say, oh, I like that. That looks like kind of fun what they're doing, or, hey, that can, you can really make a living out of something like that. Sure.
Yeah.
And so I think it's keeping not only your eyes open, but keeping your mind and your heart open to possibilities. So I think that is what will help sometimes with misalignment. It's like, if you're open to it, however way it may be, as long as you're open to it, then I think it'll come to you. Because otherwise, if you don't break down that wall, if you don't let down the wall for something else to come in, well, then shit, you're going to be stuck in that little tiny room.
Yeah.
Like a squid game, right? You're going to be just stuck in there.
Oh man, somebody pray for me. All right. I absolutely love that you say that, because I do feel like in a lot of areas, creative block is literally just a good mental pivot, right? We talk about taking ourselves out of our current environment, uplifting ourselves and putting us somewhere else so that our brain computes and thinks things differently. For me, a lot of times if I'm in between meetings, which I am today, I go outside for at least 10 minutes and put my feet in the grass. I sit in the open sunlight and I just kind of recharge and reset and let my body recalibrate itself before I go back in and look at other screens and look at and be in more meetings, things along those lines. So I do take those moments very seriously when it's time to realign myself in a lot of areas. I just got to take myself out of that environment. That's a huge one. Okay, so creative conflicts, navigating disagreements, and finding common ground. Ooh, I feel like conflict resolution has always been a little bit of an art for me because I am that person. I love being the equalizer in a lot of areas, not equalizer like Latifah or Denzel, hello, but I definitely more of like equalizer, like just being that middle person who can listen to both sides and not be so upset or aggressive enough. I'm very much an empath in a lot of areas, right? We talk about being an empathetic person. Yeah. And so I really am good at, hearing and then taking something and finding some middle ground in between. What about you, Priscilla? Client conflict?
Well, I am in the middle. Yeah, I'm a middle child. So I too am, comfortable with that, being in that situation. So, I mean,
I know that's right.
Yeah, right. Well, it's like when we're talking client conflicts and we're talking about being in the middle, it's kind of like, well, what are you saying? Are you meaning when I'm with a client, we're working, it's just one-on-one and there's a disagreement, or are you talking about, because for you have a team. So you have whatever. For me, this team is this right here. And right here.
Oh, you need a secretary? 1 second.
So
hello.
Yeah.
You're right, exactly.
I'll be right with you.
Yes. All the things. Yes. That's what I'm talking about. Yes. I get it. I totally get it. Freelance is definitely wearing so many hats.
You know what? Well, but it is, you have to, it is a skill. It's a skill that you learn, I think. And as you I don't know, there may be some people right off the bat, just because due to their personality, they may be able to work through those client conflicts and stuff, but it's very uncomfortable, like the first time, it happens. And sometimes for some people may not ever get comfortable, but hopefully during each one conflict that you have, you're learning something about it, learning about yourself and learning about like you as far as in your career. Maybe there's maybe I do come across as blah, 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 or maybe, hey, I should have done this differently. And it's just, you have to, the tactfulness thing is not, it's it's like an acquired taste, I suppose.
Yeah. Yeah, totally. I like that. I like how you say acquired taste, because it's not going to be great for everybody, right? It's just something that you do. It is a part of the things that you do. And so a lot of people automatically feel misaligned sometimes with conflict, right? Because it feels negative or it feels different. It's not something that they're really accustomed to. But over time, as you know, it definitely is something, it becomes more of a growing skill. And when you hit that, it's not stuff's hit the fan. It's more so, okay, how can I be in the middle? I know what I've done in the past to kind of get to one way to another, but how can I meet again in the middle to appease both sides, or at least come to a common denominator?
Let me ask you a question, Danielle, about, the client conflicts. Now, you and I are both mothers of multiple children.
Mm-hmm.
Do you think that if you are a parent of multiple children, I mean, it's like, that's where you could get your training, your training, and it helps both ways, It's like,
Girl, you're gonna get your hiking boots, you're gonna get your glasses, you're gonna get all the things that you need to go on that adventure. Okay. Yes, I love
yeah.
that you say that. I do feel like being a parent has allowed me, or at least being a caregiver of any kind, has allowed me to kind of better adjust my personal self in regards to what needs to get done, right? In regards to the needs of others. And I just feel like for anyone, right, in listening range, if you're a mom, if you're a dad, if you're a parent of any kind, you can relate to having to better problem solve or more quickly problem solve because you're currently doing it in multiple states of your life. Versus just doing it at work. But shout out to the people who are really doing it in the office, because even if you are not a parent of any kind, you better understand, again, the balances and the technicalities of listening to both voices. People are trusting you with their thoughts, their words, their own departed wisdom, and they're giving it to you and saying, do something special with it. And so I love the fact when we talk about conflict resolution, even on a mentor status, even on as a parent, I feel like it helps. It helps. It really does help us kind of better figure out priorities, helps us better figure out problem solving skills. And we take that fire and we just keep on spitting it out everywhere else. So I think it's cool. I'm glad that you mentioned it that way as a parent.
Yeah. Well, like another thing too, I think about with client conflicts, as far as being in, our field, we are sharing our, like, I worked on this art project, like I'm thinking about a kid when they're sharing their art project to the parent and they're showing it and the parent's like, well, you did that wrong or something like that. That's kind of like when we go to the client and they don't like what we did. I mean, sometimes that causes conflicts for people. Like I've always said, I mean, I want to just be proud of what I've done, right? I may not I like in branding specifically, right? We give them some options and maybe like they picked, like, okay, you picked the one. It's not me. It's not my, it's their project. And they're just looking at me to, make it pretty, I am the voice, the visual voice for them, what they cannot speak, those who cannot speak of visually who they are. But it's like, that's where a conflict also, I think people need to understand, is that the client conflict will also, it kind of not attacks you, but if you're too personal with your stuff and that kind of goes into that career and the the personal alignment. Like you got to be okay enough with yourself that people may not make the same choice, and it's like it's okay. It's okay.
Yep, I love
that. You don't
want
to put out shit. You don't want to just put out shit just because, hey, you know what? They picked this other one that was like a little more janky than you thought. That's going to be the best janky thing that I ever put together. Ever.
Yes.
It's still your work. It's still your work. It still is work. Yes. Gotta clean
I love that. And I love that you picture it that way, because I do feel like there's a lot of people out there who are listening who are in similar places, right? Like, I'm going to make this, if you're so proud of that little janky little part, we're going to make this the season of the whole thing. We're going to make this little part. That's going to be the moment. And that works for them, right? We do have to wire our brain sometimes for that level of disappointment, because we are creatives. We think everything we do, right, is superb in areas, or at least solves the problem. And at least that's how I have to walk into a lot of situations, is how do I solve problems? Not whether or not it looks absolutely 110% best, because my 100% is someone else's 80%. And I have to kind of think of it in that way always. So how am I best solving the problem is how I have to address it. These are so good. Okay. Career uncertainty, dealing with change and finding your path. And we have done this. We've talked about, I think we've talked about this all the time on the podcast. Like,
I think it's happening now.
One of those TikTok videos where he's like zooming in closer, dun like the whole like I relate to that so hard. Because we deal with change on a everyday level, every other hour level. Finding your path is really just going back to those core values, right? Going back to the things that you know are certain, the things that you will never budge against or budge on. Going back to those cores, and then also realizing or finding a path that best navigates and reflects the things that those core values are. If you are a headset or a head jam on having that, being a logo designer only, and people are coming in now that have web design expertise and they're doing the logo thing too, and it makes you feel away, go back to your basics, go back to the things that make you shine, and then from there pivot. If that means maybe branching out into logo animation, maybe that means branching out into some other areas of AI to use for branding. All those type of things help build the assets that you currently have. They help build the core values that you have. So when I think about that particular word of career uncertainty, it really kind of makes me feel like kind of Indiana Jones, like you just haven't discovered it yet. Like you need to put on your fedora and crack your little whip, and let's think about that a little bit harder. But career uncertainty also, like the flip side of that, right? There's the whole, yes, pull myself up and get it done, but it's also like for some people their careers are gone. I'm not even gonna like go further into our current climate of America right now. People are losing their jobs left and right in the federal market right now, in the federal careers. And that's nothing they can do can change it, right? Like they can't work harder, they can't work smarter, they can't build a better logo or build a better whatever. It's just gone. And so in those type of uncertainty moments, those are the things, again, I kind of encourage people, go back to your basics, go back to who you are, and put yourself around others in similar spaces and places, community, put new inputs into your mind, like all that good stuff.
Well, this reminds me of like years ago when I was in Atlanta, right? I had a friend who they were having a lot of layoffs in the company that she worked for. And when she had that layoff, what she chose to do? She chose to go to Mount Rainier, and she was a hiker, and she stayed there for like 3 months or something. She said it was like the best experience she ever had. And, and now like she just kind of, over the years, she's done like, what do you call it? Like temp freelance, contract work. And she was always, and it's like, I remember that conversation when she lost her job. And then we were talking, and I was like, you don't have any kids, you don't have whatever. This is a perfect opportunity. If you want to go and do that thing, because if you end up being in a family way with other people, I go, then that's not so easy. And I still think, and we still talk about, I'm like, I love that for her. And of course I live vicariously through all those things that she goes through. But the career uncertainty and the changes, and even like what we talk about, if people may end up, the layoffs and stuff, but I think it's always nice to have I think there's some people, their jobs are their lives, but then when they don't have that, then what is that? I think that it's, no matter what career we're in, you have to have, your heart has to be in something. And it's like, and wherever it's meant to be, because there's always that, what's meant for you will not pass or shall not pass. It's like, and that is something which I think I have learned to really try to remind myself in those uncertainty times, and just say, it is going to be, it's going to be a struggle. Regardless, it's going to be a struggle, whether it's a really hard struggle, an easy struggle, whatever there is, it's not just going to, hey, I want to do this, and all of a sudden it's right there. It's like, you got to work for anything and everything, right?
Yeah.
Other than even breathing, probably you got to work for that too. Like, because I walk over there and I got to catch my breath. But I think that the uncertainty, if you have uncertainty in the rest of your life or everywhere else, then that's where you most have to know that you have to have the certainty within yourself. And know you're like, I am certain that I am going to always be creative, or I'm going to be doing something that helps people, or I'm going to whatever. That you can be certain of. Whether or not where you're going to work, where you're going to live, that all changes, because it can happen at any time. Anything can change in an instant. But if you are back to that personal alignment, if you know who you are, or you believe in who you are, or whatever, it's like, all the other stuff I think will work out. Or even if you are unaligned a little bit and you have your peoples, like I know I lean on you a lot, we lean on each other a lot. When I'm even feeling uncertain, I know at some point you saw me when I was certain.
That's right.
Or you can remind me, hey, but really, that again, the uncertainty is everywhere, except, mostly just know what's in your heart,
I love that. Wow. Priscilla, snaps, 3 snaps. Yes, absolutely. I love it. I feel like I'm like a poetry hour.
I do old school wisdom with modern inspiration.
And there you have it. There you have it, everyone. Yes.
I hope I just help others find gratitude in this world full of screams and screens.
Come on. Come on. I'm screaming now, okay? Because I'm just going to stop. Yes. Priscilla, yes. I love it. Okay, so we're kind of wrapping this up, but I wanted to leave with some in general, if anyone had again questions you guys wanted to ask or moments you wanted to share, feel free to share those. I am just mostly in a place right now where I feel like in a lot of areas when we talk about alignment, our recent guests on alignment, think about those takeaways. Really think hard about how this can affect your life personally, how alignment and misalignment can construe and create some of the best and most interval moments of our lives. And then that level that you just mentioned, Priscilla, that's the level of gratitude in it all, gratitude throughout it all. I feel like it's extremely powerful in the development of how we process creativity and how we build technology, right? It's always in a way of connecting life things, but also evaluating the deeper things and the deeper values that we have and exuding them in a way that helps and connect others. So I personally hope that you all had a wonderful time listening to us explore this topic of alignment. Priscilla, is there anything else you want to wrap up tonight or today?
No. Well, when you were talking about gratitude in my head, I just have to sometimes just tell you things that happened in my head. I was thinking of gratitude. I imagined all of a sudden Ratatouille, part 2 would be Gratitude.
Oh, wouldn't that be cute? I love that. Okay, Disney, pay up. Pixar, yeah, pay up. I love that. That could be totally a Ratatouille moment.
You know how you do those imagining the brand things? Let's do one.
I like that. I like that a lot.
Have you done one that's like
we have not done a Pixar related one yet. It is on our to-do list, but we have not. So maybe this needs to be one for we do a mom spoofs version in May. So maybe this is a product that we can spoof in May.
I'd love to do that one. And give me some other ones and I'll just
I love it. Yeah, so we do a social media series in May. It's usually called Moms Approved series, where we go through a list of products or services that are totally spoof things, but we completely brand it out and showcase how valuable that product or service would be for moms for Mother's Day. So yeah, that's a really good one. Thanks, Priscilla.
Yeah. You're welcome, Danielle.
Thanks. All right, y'all. So we're just going to sign off here real quick. Thanks for tuning in to our live episode of the More Than Graphics podcast. For exclusive bonus content, subscribe to our newsletter by visiting us at mtgthepodcast.com. And don't forget to connect with us on Instagram, on LinkedIn, on Facebook by following the hashtag MTGThePodcast. So until we meet again, we're reminding you that you are more than the work you produce. You are more than your name badge, and you are, without question, in my Wakanda voice, more than graphics. We'll catch you next time, y'all. This tribe with a vibe needs you. Share MTG on social media, on your lunch break with peers, or send an episode to your techie bestie. This podcast is produced by Octane Design Studios. Catch you next time.